Hello, this is Professor Kim Nelson with the Jewelry Design Department at the Fast Institute of Technology. Adding another installment to our series of tutorials for Rhino, continuing on with our project, the Maurice ring. Okay, we don't need the ring bore. We have our shank fairly well resolved. I'm going to move that onto a storage layer. I am going to take our flow kit and also move it to the storage layer. Okay, I will not be needing this anymore. Okay, so also moving that to the storage layer, and I'm ready to continue on. The next element we're going to draw is the center section, the head section. We're going to do it in much the same way that we did the other. I turned on the previous curve so I could see a relevant height. Okay, in fact, an easy way to do this is going to be to do an orient command. I want a copy and I want it to scale 3D. Grabbing the endpoints of that section and the quadrants of this simple loop. That is the same shape, just enlarged and moved in position. Remember, that's what orient will do. Orient will copy, relocate, and scale something all at the same time. Powerful transform. I'm going to look at that in connection with the other flutes and see if I think that is tall enough. I don't think it is. I think I'm going to want a little more extreme. I have to be careful though, because the taller these are, when they come into here, the higher this is going to have to be to grapple them. And if this has to be higher to grapple them, it's going to be even higher over here. And that is one of our concerns, the differences here. So actually, I'm not. I'm going to leave that with the original. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and extrude that straight, both sides. Yeah, my bad. I'm going to try and extrude it from the top C-plane. It may not work. The last C-plane, the right C-plane, was better. Yeah, but since it's a planar curve, usually if it's a planar curve, Rhino will forgive. Because I want to make sure that it's big enough to tuck into this cleat well. I'm going to explode that. Rhino 5, when it makes an extrusion, it actually creates a separate kind of object class in Rhino, which we don't want. Because we're going to want to be able to alter this. I want to look at the point structure. It's not bad. I'm going to take a look at the math, F5. It is second degree curvature, which I don't want. I want third degree. No, I mean, no, it is a third degree. Okay. No, it isn't. It's a second degree. So I want third degree, third degree. I want the U direction, which is coming across this way. I'll make that 7 so that it holds. And in the V direction, that's coming from here to here. I want a center line, so I'll make that 5, which is good. That's what it already is. Essentially the same surface, but with a little more friendly math, because we're going to be transforming it quite a bit once again. Actually, I already have these outlines coming to this first curve. I'm going to go ahead and scale this back to match non-uniform scale. 0 is the beginning of my scale. I will grab the end of this extrusion and the end of that cut curve, and just 1 for Y and 1 for Z. There. That'll be the same length as this, which will make my life easier later. Going to make copies with history. And I'm going to check my history. If I move the center one, the other two should follow along. Okay, very good. So there's my basic surfacing for the center section. And like we experienced before, we're going to need to make a fairly sophisticated flow kit to work with that. We know that we want it to be as wide, the base surface, we want it to be as wide as this. So I'm going to go ahead and just start drawing the outline. Line both sides, starting from the quadrant. Shift key. Go ahead and mirror that over. And I'm going to grab these two. I want a copy of them on this dark blue layer, so I'm going to copy and paste and change layer to dark blue. Change layer, remember, is called Control D. Copy is Control C, paste is Control V, change layer is Control D. Turn off this top view now. And trim this up using fillet. That's the shape of my initial surface. I'm going to offset it a millimeter so that I have a flow surface that goes beyond what I need all the way around. In fact, I'm going to go 1.2. Throw away the inside one. This is the curve I'm going to use to make my flow surface. So explode it, bi-rail sweep it, throw away those curves, and that's my flat surface, my base surface. Now I'm going to make my three-dimensional surface, my target surface. And to do that, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to ungroup these, Control-Shift-G, so I can select them individually. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the other, with the shank. Curve from two views, here and here. Curve from two views, here and here. Okay, that gives me what I want. And I do want to have a surface up here to look at for reference, so I'm going to make that. Going to extrude it, front C-plane, extrude both sides. Turn off my two drawings. Okay, now interestingly enough, these don't reach. And that's okay, because I made that center curve in the view an approximate, so it should be fine. I do need a curve to close these off, though, so I will get that, extract iso curve, other direction, T-enter to get the other direction, toggle, and snap, and snap, trim, trim, trim. Okay, and that will be a good way to measure how close I am to the shape I initially envisioned when I did my drawing. I don't really need the curves anymore, so I'll control that and then deselect the surface. And then going back down to my flat. I am going to offset this 1.2. Going to offset this 1.2. And both of these 1.2. Use my fillet. Make sure that these are just one curve. I'm going to explode it. See, those two curves are 6 segments. That's not good. I'm not going to worry about it right now, though. Go ahead and join these into a closed curve. Do my curve from 2 views. This curve and this curve. You will see that it did not bring the rest of this. It's because it's not long enough. This curve isn't long enough to give me those extra pieces. I need them to be long enough, so I'm going to do an extend curve. Select both of these. Curve, extend curve. Those are my boundaries, so now I just select the curve to extend, which will be that. Explode this. Good, it cannot explode a single segment. Just wanted to make sure I had relatively simple math still. Okay, again, curve from 2 views. There we go. This I'm going to explode. There are 5 segments. I only want 4, so I'm going to deselect these 2 and join those together. 3 curves joined into 2 open curves. So one of these was a polycurve. I'm going to rebuild it. All I care about is that there's a control point in the middle, so I need an odd number. 11's fine, and I'll have the degree before. That's fine. Looks unchanged. Going to do a bi-rail sweep. Oh, hang on. Bi-rail sweep. Rail, rail, cross section, cross section. That looks good. Turn off the guide. Rebuild, so we have even control points. I like the 22. We'll keep that, except for I need it to be odd numbered. So I'm actually going to go 19. 19 should be more than enough. Actually, I'm going to take that down to 15. I do want a control point down the middle, so I'll keep that 5. 3 and 3 is okay. Take a look at it from the front, and then undo, redo, to see how much I changed that. Control Z, undo. Looks the same. Control Y, redo. Okay, so that rebuilding didn't change the curvature, which was important to me. All right, let's see what we get. Our flat surface. It's right here. I'll put these on the same layer. My 3 surfaces. Now, here's the interesting thing. I was supposed to have this offset by 1 millimeter, so that makes me doubt that this surface is legitimate. There should be one that is offset 1 millimeter. Okay, there is not one. Okay, that's very telling because I was supposed to do a millimeter. All the way around, and apparently I didn't. Apparently I did it. I don't know where that went. I was certain I had. Okay, well, it's very important that I do the offset of a 1.2, so curve, offset, 1.2. Except for I don't want that one, I want the straight-sided one. So, duplicate border, offset, delete. This is the curve that I want. If I look at it from the top view, interesting. No. I've got to pause. No, that's right. That is right. Let's take a look and see why I'm confused. Okay, this has already been offset the millimeter, which means this has already been offset the millimeter. This is fine. Sorry for becoming confused, but there's a lot going on, and that's easy to do. Can you see how this was the original shape, and how it has been offset both in the curved version, which I brought up here. It's also been offset as a straight square all the way around. So it's fine. Okay, so this is good. I just need to make sure that it matches the math. So first thing I want to check is the grain, the U and V's. U is horizontal, or short widthwise. Okay, same. I want to rebuild this to the same curve math, so F5. It'll remember what I last did, which is what I want, so these two are the same. Good. I'll hide these curves in case I want them again. Group these and hide them. Okay. There's my flow kit. I guess what's scaring me is that compared to my drawing, those seem awfully wide. And they are. Okay? They're awfully wide because I made the center one wider than the sides. Okay. Going to my top view. Non-uniform scale. No change here, so 1. And I'll have to do this a little bit at a time until I get what I want. Okay, that's not going to work. This is going to narrow them up. So, I'm going to non-uniform scale all of them. One and quad. Z is 1. I know, I broke history. That's fine. That's what I want. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to undo, throw these two away, scale this one again using the same numbers, origin point 0. Remember, it will remember what you used last, so it's 1, no change, but this side is 87%. Z is 1. And when I copy this with history, and again, I should have something much better. And then if I move this The others should follow. Yep, history's good. All right, small correction. And now back to my flow kit. Remember, the dark purple is what I want it to look like. So, record history, flow along surface, select a common corner, and there we go. Now you can see that mine is actually a little more tapered at the very end than what I wanted in my original shape. Going to see how much that matters against the drawing. Actually, it looks good. The only place it matters is down inside of the collet, and I don't think I really want to change that. Oh, unless, hang on. No, it's off. I need to match that curve. Alright, so to do that, I'm going to change this onto a different layer just so I can turn the base off. Since history is attached, I can turn on the control points here. And I'm going to do some control point editing. I'm going to start with from where I see it departing, which is right here. Here it looks good. I'm going to grab it on both sides. That's why I wanted a center point, so that I could have it be symmetrical. Origin point is 0. I don't want to change this direction, so that's a 1. I want to change this direction. I'm just going to do a little bit. And then 1 for Z. Enter. And I'm going to look and see what that did. Can you see how it took it in quite a ways? Actually made kind of a kink. I don't want that. So, undo. Try again. Nothing here. This was 98%. I'm going to do 0.99 and then 1 for Z. Okay, that's not bad. I'll leave that. I'm going to subtract this row of points, holding down the control key. Remove that row of points, and I'm going to go back in and do a non-uniform scale again. I'm just going to select the same values again and again. 0, enter, enter, enter. Doing each one 99%. Now you can see that this one is kind of hanging on. That's right where the other two are a little bit too much. That one's about right. Okay, so these I need to scale more. 0, 1. I'm going to type in 0.98 and 1. That's pretty good. I'm going to pull out this next row and non-uniform 0, and I'll keep that same 0.98. It's a little much. 0.99. That looks good. Now I have to go back now and expand some of these. I need this row, 4th row from the end, and this row. Non-uniform scale, 0, 1, and then this is going to be 1.01%. Nope. So instead of typing in now, I'm going to go to my gumball. And that way I can just grab a hold and do it interactively. Okay. Now I want these two rows. Double check, 1, 2, 1, 2, okay? Same idea. Zoom in a little bit. That's pretty good. Gonna grab this row and non-uniform scale it. Looking good. Actually going to go back to this last row. Scale it back down a little bit. Okay, and I can keep playing with this, but I think that's sufficient for what I want. So now I have a flow kit that works. These two surfaces work together to throw this into that. That's all I need to know. Get rid of gumball. So I have that portion ready to go. I can throw these away now. I don't need this little reference surface on the inside. I've already proven that I'm good there. So I'll hide that. I'm going to extrude straight down. Before I do that, I'm going to do what I did last time. I'm going to put a Control-C to copy these out of the clipboard, and then I'm going to group these together and put them on the storage layer to protect the history. Then I'll paste back in the others, which will now have no history, and join them. And like we did last time, I'm going to do a duplicate border. You see how that border has humps, which is not good. I'm going to project a C-plane, which is C-enter. And yes, delete input objects. Going to extrude from that. Both sides, give myself some depth. Delete the curve. Use these to trim away the top part. Join them together. And confirm how this is looking. Flow along surface. I'm not even bothering with history right now because I just want to see what I've got. Okay, that is not deep enough. I need to come down considerably deeper. So, undo, 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 undo. Do the extrusion again. Nice and deep this time. Throw away the curve. Trim away the top. Join it together. Flow. Check that out along the finger. That is plenty. More than enough. Okay. I like that. Now, there are some things I don't love about it. If you look at it from the side, it'd be a little bit more graceful for this if this tapered inward a little bit. Bring back our side view. To have this be swept and have this be straight like that is not very nice. So I'm going to reverse engineer. Quad. I'm going to project to the C-plane so it ends up flat on that C-plane. And I'm going to draw what I think is a nice curve. Not as steep as the shank, but certainly has some taper to it. while I've got that, I'm going to trim it off with the inside finger bore. Okay, so we have this little piece of curve. Now what I can do with that little piece of curve is I can reverse flow it. Transform flow along surface. Grab this corner, and there it is. That's helpful because it shows me a depth, but it also shows me that angle that I want. Now that I have that angle, bring back my surfacing, throw these away. I'm going to surface this at that angle. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to come to the right side. I'm going to explode, well not explode, I'm going to extract surfaces. I'm going to take these pieces off. I'm going to take this piece off and this piece off. I'm going to record history and mirror it over. Then I'm going to rotate it. End. 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 See how that worked on both sides? It's fine. Going to do a loft along the bottom. Grab these two edges. Join these together. And cap planar holes. I just broke history on that mirror, which is fine. Now I have a nice little solid object. I know that I need it to be deeper than this curve. But I don't need it to be this much deeper. So I'm going to do a cutting plane. And move it a little closer to that. Check its direction. I'm going to use it for difference, so Boolean, so I have to make sure that it points towards what I want to keep. And try flowing this. Still not bothering with history. See, that's more elegant. That's okay. That's all right. Okay, I'm going to want to fillet the outside corners on these outside flutes because I don't want a corner there. So I will do that next. I can do it here and flow it up, but I'm going to get more dependable results at this point if I just do it up here on the float piece. Solid fillet edge. Let's see what one looks like. Not much. See what 2 looks like. Didn't work. Let's see what 1.5 looks like. And we'll compare that to that front view, see if we're catching any problems. No, that's fine. Do the same thing here. I want to see how much that changed the width from the top. I can actually see it because I can compare it to the originals. Very, very little. That's all right. I'm going to probably end up, I'm going to go ahead and hide this or put it on the storage layer. I'm going to copy and paste this in. change it to a different layer, just so I can bring that shank in and still leave the other original on the layer for safekeeping, on the storage layer. Okay, I need to take a look at this now and decide either this section has to be wider, a little bit, or this section has to be narrower. And I will make that decision by looking at Maurice's ring. Don't know where that went to, but it is not showing up. Maurice's ring. Oh, wrong class. That's why. Sorry, guys. Been working with the 139 themes extensively. Here we go. So here's Maurice's ring. Here's mine. I can E-map these in yellow gold to give myself more of an effect. Okay, I'm leaning towards a couple of things. I think that Maurice's ring I would narrow up the shank, but I think I might also need to tuck these in more. I'll start with narrowing up the shank. So I'm just going to do something as simple as a non-uniform scale. Although I could do a taper. If I do something as simple as a taper, once again, I want to start with the part I don't want to change, which is the bottom. And the part I do want to change, the top. I want it infinite, I want it flat. That will taper all those uniformly. And that's a good representation of what's going on in Maurice's ring. Okay. The other part is going to have to do with the tapering of this bulge, which I would like to tuck in more. It's going to be hard to see that, though, until I have the cleats. So I'm going to end this tutorial and resume working on the cleats. Thanks for watching.